Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video we're going to go ahead and put into practice what we just saw in previous video on list views. So as usual, if you don't have your Android Studio fired up, you should do so now, and I already have it. So I'm going to go and say File, New Project, and I'm going to call this my list view. All right, so next, and this is fine, but let's go ahead and say here, that's mine, ice cream sandwich, that's fine. Go next, and blank, next. All right, it's all good, and finish. Now Android Studio should start creating our project. May take a little while. And all right, so Android Studio is kind enough to create our project. It's already here. So let's get rid of this hello world here. So delete that. Perfect. So we got our main there. So let's change this to, in fact, let's just get rid of all of this because we're not going to be using any of it. So that's fine. We can go and say activity. We go Alt or Option Enter to get our activity for us. So the first thing we're gonna do is put as list view, right? Because that's what we're gonna be doing. So let's go ahead and find our list view here. We could obviously just drag and drop. Let's go into the text view here, and notice here something happened. It looks like we have this preview thing here. This is another great feature that Android Studio comes with, which is you can actually have a preview. So I click out of it, so you have a preview here where if you go ahead and start changing things, let's go ahead and put a text view here. So text view, put enter, say wrap content, you notice quickly, let's go ahead and put a text so that we can actually see something changing. Say text hello. You notice to the right here quickly, it's actually changing as we type our things here, right? So we can go and say, for instance, text size 23 SP. Look at the right. Oh, there it is. That's a really awesome feature. So I encourage you to use it if you would like to see these live changes here on the preview. So all you have to do is just go and find preview here and click on it, and that should do it. Okay, perfect. All right, so let's get rid of this because we don't need that now. What we need is a list view. So we say list view, for enter. Go ahead and say wrap content, and then let's go ahead and give it an ID. So it's gonna say ID, give enter. We're gonna call it list. Why not? Perfect. As you can see in our preview, it's showing this skeleton of our list view. While we're here, let's go ahead and give it a background color to our view here. Let's say background, and let's say we want, I already know the colors, so I would just say FF25AA. Oh, that looks good, and 38. See, oh, perfect, that looks great. All right, and inside of our list view here, let's give it a divider color. What a divider is, a little line that goes below each item so that you can see that, okay, this is going to be item 2, this is item 1, and this is item 2, and so forth. As you can see now, we cannot see any dividers here, and it's a little bit confusing. So let's give it a different color so that we are able to see it. Okay, so let's say divider, and let's say FF0B 1A11. All right, let's keep at it. So let's go ahead into our main activity, because this is where we're gonna create our adapter and create our string array that will then be taken and put into our list view. So the first thing we're going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and create an instance variable. So private, it's a list view. I'm going to call it list view. Okay, that's going to be our reference to our list view that we have created here, this list view. Excellent. And now we go back, we go inside of our own create, and we're going to reference that list view, say list view is equal list view. Okay, I'm going to find view by ID, so r.id. I think we call it list. Perfect. So all we did here, we just fetch our XML list view here so that we can work with it. Now, the second thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and create a string array that will hold all of the items that we want to be displayed in our list view. I already created an array, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste here so that we don't spend too much time here. So I'm going to there. So again, it's just an array of strings, as you can see here, and inside the array, I'm just putting all of these different strings here. In fact, we can put another one. We can say, I love this. We can put as many as we wish to insert here. All right. And so once we have this, we are now able to go ahead and define our adapter. So the main responsibility of an adapter is to take this array here and convert into a view that a list view can then consume and display to the user. That's all an adapter does. Okay, and again, we'll talk more about adapters in the next videos into a little bit more details, but that's all an adapter does. It essentially just adapts this array here into something that a list view understands and say, okay, I know what you're saying. I know what you want me to do, which is to take this array of strings and then display in a list view. Okay, and how do we do that? Android comes with all of these great classes that we can just use them and things just work. Okay, so the first thing we do, we say array adapter. Okay, and inside of this here, this angular brackets, we put the type. So it's a string, because what we are the values here, it's a string that we're going to be inserting into this array adapter, right? It's type of string, we're going to call it adapter and say new array adapter, right? And inside here, it takes a few arguments here. So the first one, we're going to go ahead and say it's our context, so which is context. And then the second one, it's going to be the layout that we are going to go and use to display all of these values, all of these arrays here, all of these values inside of these arrays, these items, right? So in this case, we're going to go ahead and ask Android itself. So say Android.r.layout. We can say simple list 1. And the last one, we're going to just go ahead and say android.r.id.text1. And the final one, we're going to pass in the actual array that we want to feed into this array adapter, which then is going to take it and display in our list view. In this case, we call this values here. We just pass in say values. Perfect. Okay, you can see there. Now let's go back over again. So we're creating an array adapter of type string that just takes strings, and we call it adapter. And inside of this array adapter, inside of this constructor, as we instantiate this object, we pass in our application context. We pass in our layout XML. And notice that we're actually asking the Android framework to give us this simple list item 1, which comes with Android, so we don't have to write our own. Later on, we'll learn how to create our own layouts and do custom adapters and everything. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. And this next one, we are also going and ask Android to pass in this text view that comes with Android that will then take this array, take these values, these items here, and display. And the last value here, the last parameter that we're passing in is the values that we specify here of strings to be displayed. Okay? It may look a little bit strange right now, but don't worry. We will do this so many times that you will understand everything. Okay? But that's basically it here. That's what you do to make sure that our array adapter is set up to be used. The next thing we're going to go ahead and do is then assign the adapter to Listview. So let me put a note here. Say assign the adapter to Listview. So as you see here, this is our Listview. This is our connection to our main Listview here, XML Listview, right? So here, what we have to do now is say Listview, because we're getting it from here. You can say dot set adapter, right? And inside there, we pass in the adapter we just created, which is just adapter here, right? So it's adapter. Perfect. Everything looks great. Let's give you a little bit of space here, right? And then the other thing we're going to do now is just say list view dot set on item. Make sure it's an on item click listener. And then inside there, we pass in, say, new on item click listener. Just go enter. And there we go. We have all of our overridden methods and so forth. So essentially now we are able to fetch whatever was clicked in our list view and show something. In this case, we're just going to go ahead and show a little toast message. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and say int position is equal to position. So what are we doing here? Well, inside of our on item click, we have our parent parameter, we have our view, and we have our int position and our long ID. Now our int position keeps track of the position of each item in our list view. So what are we doing here? We're just taking that position integer and just created a new variable here that will hold that position for us, so we know which item was clicked. That's all we're doing. And then let's say string, let's call this clicked value, and then we're going to say is equal to list view dot get item at position, and we pass in our int position. Now we have a problem here because it's saying, well, this get item position returns an integer, right? So, but we are saying this is the clicked value is a string. So there's different ways to do this to get rid of this problem. We can just go and say toString. So what this does, it just takes this list that get item at position and converts it into a string, which is then stored in our clicked value string here. Okay, and now we're ready to go and say toast dot make text, and we pass in our get application context here, and we say then clicked value, which is this string here, and our last argument here is going to be length. Let's make it long, and don't forget to show it. Perfect. So if you run this, let's go ahead and run this. All right, and there you have it. You have the app working. Now if we go ahead and say PD shown, you can see there, you can say hello here, and you can see this says hello friends, and it's working perfectly. That's wonderful. And you can see again, with little effort, we were able to create a list view that functions well and does what we want it to do. And when you click on the items like that, you can see it takes that position item and gets that text that it's showing, and it displays in our toast message. That's very cool. That's amazing. And you will see this concept of using list views over and over and over in Android, because it's the best way of actually displaying a lot of data in one setting. As you know, mobile devices are very small in size, so this really helps if you have a lot of data to be displayed and you don't have enough space. Scroll views and list views are your best friends. Now, you also notice there's a problem here. Well, it's not necessarily a problem, but it's just something that we want to be able to see that divider that we were talking about. If you go back here to our activity, we put our divider here, but for some reason it's not showing here, right? It just doesn't show. Well, the problem here is, yes, we have our divider and we have our color. The problem is that our divider doesn't have a height. So the height is 0, therefore it's not showing. Now, to solve that, very simple, just say divider height, and let's give it a height of, say, 2 dp. Save that, and all of a sudden you see, there it is. So there are oftentimes you will forget to put a height, and you'll be confused, as you probably were a little bit confused to say, well, we put our divider here, but it's just not showing. It's because automatically Android says, well, its divider, its height is 0, therefore it's not going to show anything. So just make sure you don't forget to put the height there so you are able to see it. Let's go ahead now again and run one more time so we can see the changes. Perfect. Very, very, very nice. So let's click on Android there it is. Repeat is shown at. You can see it's working perfectly. Now you know how to create your own list views and how to attach click listeners to your list items. And I will encourage you again to go ahead and play around with this concept of list views, this great tool that Android provides for us. And in this case, I would go ahead and just add more items here and play around, change the colors, and just explore. Make your own list, for instance, of cat names or dogs or animals, whatever you want. Just play around with it. It's always a good way to learn new things if you go ahead and on your own and do the same things, changing things. And don't be afraid of breaking things, right? Because the more you break things, the more you learn. All right? Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.